Good morning and welcome to Office Hours, the show where we answer your technical media production questions every single week. Today's a focus on audio day. Of course, you can ask other questions, but we got a great panel with lots of audio experience, so make sure you get your questions in. Courtney, let's get started.
Oh, yes, I'm reading today. David Brady from New York City, New York, asks, we are experiencing some odd behavior on Zoom rooms with Biamp Tesira X400 digital signal processors. After approximately 30 minutes, things are moving around. I'll just finish this one. Into a call, the far end audio begins to fall apart as if a sample rate mismatch. Is it It is semi-repeatable. Any ideas on troubleshooting steps? Sorry, things moved in the middle of that question.
No problem. Oh, we got it back there. Biamp, I've heard of that brand. I haven't actually particularly worked with one. I actually did an install once where they had one, and it's one of those things where it required a Windows computer. They had their own proprietary app. There was no way to access that without it. But go ahead, Courtney.
Well, sometimes there can be something called a cadence issue where the stream of digital audio gets out of cadence, so that each sample is 3 bytes or 4 bytes, and if it gets out of cadence, the second byte comes in first, and then it goes into the first byte of the next one, and then you will hear this crazy kind of distortion. It's possible that it's getting out of cadence at some point because there's a bug in the DSP after a certain amount of time. That's my guess.
Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, I'm curious how you're getting the signals into the Biamp DSP. And at that point, are you noticing the glitches right at the ingest of the Biamp going into the Biamp? Or does it only happen after the Biamp DSP? That way you can narrow down where to do your troubleshooting. If you can feed another signal into the DSP and you're still getting the glitches, then of course it's at the DSP side.
And Chris.
I know nothing about this, but I do want to tell you a story about mismatched audio issues, because I think many more people are going to have this problem than the problem that David Brady's having. Last week, a couple weeks ago, my sister-in-law said, hey, in the middle of the night, my TV sounds like it's underwater. And I was like, well, let's look into it. Long story short, the Xfinity X1 cable box has a thing in the software where you can select how it outputs, and that we are going to come back to David Brady, how it outputs audio on the HDMI output on the back of the thing. And one of them is, hey, I'm really smart, I'll figure it out, which it's not good at. And the other one is just put out normal stereo. And I think that probably 95% of the people that have Xfinity just have normal stereo attached to their HDMI outputs. I switched to that, fixed the problem. So if hers was like yours, semi-repeatable, it would happen once a day, but she couldn't make it happen. And she also found if she unplugged it and plugged it back in, the virtual jiggle, the handle, that it would go away, but it would come back. So ever since I changed it to just make stereo output. Anyway, mismatching audio can rear its ugly head in many different ways.
And if you have any more information that you'd like to add, David, just bring it in. We can always answer another question. Go ahead, Mickey. You wanted to come back in?
Yeah, I was just looking at this DSP unit. So it's a multi-interface system, has analog inputs, has USB capabilities as an audio interface over USB. It can also take an AV over IP. So there are so many places where the issue could happen if you're going through Dante. Is it a Dante issue? Is it a networking issue? If you're going in over AS67 or Ravenna, it could be in that world. If you're going in via the analog inputs, could be the A to D converters within the DSP. So many variables there.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's kind of reminding me of when I was initially setting up my Dante network, and I was trying to figure out how to optimize all the Dante network settings, which we were working on with Mickey. And I remember one of the things that I talked to you about, Mickey, was I showed you the little stats graph that showed the latency, and you could see there was a problem on the network. You could see that red bar creeping up and up with the latency increasing, and you would get the breakdown of the audio. You would hear the pops, you would hear the clicks, and you would hear the audio starting to fall apart. So you're right. There are a lot of variables involved, and it could very well be a networking issue if you are using some kind of AOIP protocol there. All right, let's go to the next question.
From Livermore, California, Scott Tupper asks, "Hello, Mickey. Tell us about your role during the 2026 Winter Olympics."
Mickey.
A simple way to say it is I plug cables in, hopefully in the right place when they have to be plugged in at that place, and equally as important, I plug them at the right time.
Did you get to go
Why
to
so
Spain?
humble?
Oh, sorry, what is that, Courtney?
Did you get to go to Spain, or were you plugging things in a remote truck center?
No, everything's here in Milan in terms of the host broadcaster side of things. There are rights holders that are cutting things remotely. All feeds being sent to their studio overseas, but in terms of the host broadcaster side, everything's right here in around Italy.
Do you work for like a specific country or national feed, or are you working at the IBC?
I'm with the host broadcaster at the IBC.
Yeah,
IBC.
Just a reminder, if you want to ask questions on this show, you can use Makana, our Q&A system. It's a great community, great place to be. There's lots of people talking in the chat there. Of course, once you put those questions in, you can also vote everything up and down. It's kind of like Reddit. So that lets us know what's important to you as far as the priority of answering those questions. If you don't know how to do that, all you have to do is go to officehours.global/join. That's officehours.global/join. Put your name and email in there, and we'll send you the newsletter with all the links that you need. Let's go to the next question.
Next one comes in from Paul Valhus in Austin, Texas. Paul wants to know, what do the audio engineers at the Olympics use for comms? Who could answer that? I don't know.
Go ahead, Mickey.
So yeah, with the host broadcaster, the intercom system uses the Riedel Artist system along with their Bolero systems for RF belt packs. For rights holders, I've been to most of the studios of the rights holders that are here in Milan. I think most of them are also on Riedel, followed by RTS. There are a couple that are on Clearcom, but definitely Riedel key panels and belt packs are seen everywhere.
And let's go to the next question.
Next one comes in from Tommy Shantz in St. Paul, Minnesota. Tommy wants to know, I have an EV DC-1 digital signal processor, and I'm having problems getting the USB connection into my Windows 11 desktop. The software does not see it. I hear it ding in to the PC. Help!
Well, Tommy, I think it would be helpful to know does he say what software he's using? I don't see any mention of that. Go ahead, Courtney.
Well, make sure you have the drivers. If that EVDC1, I'm not familiar with that external DSP USB connector, does it come in as a standard USB audio device, or does it have custom drivers? Does it require the ASIO drivers? Is it multi-channel, more than 2 channels? It probably requires the ASIO drivers. So make sure the ASIO drivers are loaded if it's to appear, if it's more than 2 channels. So there's a place to look and make sure and see if that particular device came with drivers that have to be loaded into Windows, and make sure the drivers have been updated.
Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, definitely see if you need to install drivers, and also Courtney reminded me, ASIO drivers. This interface seems to be a bit of an older interface. So perhaps it doesn't support newer types of drivers, and maybe the software that you're using to capture only supports ASIO, for example. Another thing to take a look at is to open up your Windows device manager and see if the computer actually sees the interface. If it just needs a driver, sometimes it would show up with a yellow question mark on there. Sometimes it would show up with just a generic audio device as listed in that device manager list. So take a look at that to guide you in terms of what troubleshooting steps you may need. If it doesn't show up there, then there's something wrong. The computer, or Windows at least, isn't seeing that device at all.
Next question.
Another one coming in from Austin, Texas, and Paul Valhus. How does the Rodecaster Video S stack up as an audio switching audio-video device?
It's a good question. I haven't actually had a chance to try one of those, but there's a few people on the panel that bought some recently. Go ahead, Courtney.
I have one, but it's not really an audio switching device. The audio has to be done in the separate software. It's best to do it in the separate software. You can do it from the little LCD panel. It's about this big on the front of it. But you have a much broader layout of the audio devices in the software, where you get a whole row of mixers of the controls over all the channels coming in, and you have access to all the DSP functions there. So it works okay as long as you run it from the software. The only way to really run it from the hardware is to set up scenes that switch to specific audio setups when you hit the scene button, and you only have 5 of those. So you're best to control it from the software, and then you have control over it.
Let's go to the next question.
Next one comes in from Robert A. Ober in Houston, Texas. How hard is it to replace the meter lamp on 1176 compressor?
Go ahead, Mickey.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't replaced the bulb on the meters myself, but if you are comfortable with opening up electronics and comfortable with the soldering iron and a hot air station, then it should be just run of the mill maintenance. I would definitely send an email to Universal Audio. I don't know if this is a vintage 1176 that still uses what do you call this, tungsten bulbs, or
Chicago miniature bulbs. Yes, remember those?
Yeah. Or if this is a newer one with LEDs. Either way, shoot an email to Universal Audio if you're comfortable with maintaining electronics. Then this should be a piece of cake.
Courtney.
You know what I do lately is use AI and ask that same question of ChatGPT or Copilot if you have a Windows machine, and you'd be surprised at how it knows how to fix vintage gear. Somehow somebody has posted information on how to do this stuff, and a lot of times it will come up with the correct answer. So check there. You may say, how do I replace the bulb in an 1176 compressor that lights up the VU meter? And you might get an answer out of it.
Jeff.
I'll just add to that last part, the caveat, which is it says it knows how. As Courtney kind of glanced over, so I just want to really
sometimes it's
stress,
even right.
Right. Try to verify that first before you go following its instructions of clip the red wire and all that good stuff.
Use a 6-pound sledge and carefully tap the top right side of the...
All right.
Go ahead, Chris.
I highly recommend big heavy hammers. I read a very interesting article this morning about the growth rate of AI, and who was it that just said? Was it you, Alexander? It says it knows how to do it. One of the things this guy was saying is, and this is somebody who's deep in the AI community, and maybe it's all made up and written by AI, but what he was saying is that the advancements in the AI industry are happening so exponentially fast that your experience that you had last week, last month, certainly last year, is probably completely different today. And also, this guy was saying that most of the criticism that people have over the quality of information that they or what they see AI agents doing, and in his case, he was just giving it descriptions on how to write an app. And he said, not only is it writing the app really well, but it's testing it and it's making qualitative, not quantitative, but qualitative decisions on how to make it better. But he said most of the people complaining about AI are basing their complaints on the free versions of AI and ChatGPT and LMNOP and all the different things that are available, and not the more advanced, more costly paid subscriptions that that make a bigger difference. So I read that and it was super interesting. And the guy said it's advancing way faster than anybody thought it was going to advance.
And while I haven't opened up this specific unit, I have opened up a lot of different compressors that have analog VU meters, and they all seem to be very, very similar and very, very easy to replace. I just want to point out there is this video on YouTube. I just did a Google search here from some channel named Big Ego, but you can see like there's this box here. That is where the VU meter is, and it's actually very, very easy to pull the bulb out directly from the back there. So. Oh, sorry, I should have switched to my, there we go. All right, so you can see, there it is. So there's the VU meter, and you can see him pulling it out from the back there. So I think you should be able to replace that pretty easily yourself, but I think Mickey's statement is correct. If you don't feel comfortable opening it up, and you don't want to risk voiding warranty, if it is under warranty, then take it to an authorized
compressor. Dealer. I don't think he's going to void any warranty.
But it may be. We don't know if it's a reissue or not. Universal Audio makes these now. You can buy a brand new one. So go ahead, Mickey. Or did we? Yeah, no, I think we already got to you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, with that, with what you mentioned, Alexander, those are more modular designs, though its modularity doesn't go deep down into just the bulb. Oftentimes you have to replace the entire meter that it also has the bulb inside it. I want to say though that I mentioned recommendations if Robert is comfortable with working on electronics, but if not, then I would start a relationship with a tech in your local area who can handle maintenance of your studio, of all your equipment. Someone who can go in regularly and check everything. This cap. Someone who can look at a capacitor and say, that's going to go out in the next 9 months. Let's fix it now. Build a relationship with someone who can take care of your facilities, your studio, your equipment, and keep yourself running, your operations running without any downtime. Downtime is the most expensive thing. Aside from failure, but downtime is expensive. Someone who can make sure you have zero downtime is invaluable. And if apart from finding someone local, send your gear into Universal Audio every couple of years. We do that with all our, I do, and my company does a lot of location sound work. Our gear gets beaten up every single day. We send our gear, even if there are no issues, we send them to Sound Devices, send them to Electrosonics. They give it a once-over every year and a half, 2 years, just to make sure we do not have equipment that dies on set. They find little things that we may never perceive while we're using it, but they see inside that, this connector is slightly out of shape. They replace the connector.
Cool.
With us doing that, we make sure that everything is in good, factory fresh condition when we're working, and we can deliver our, what we're there to do, record sound or whatever we're doing.
And Chris.
Hey, Mickey, I'm curious, when you do that, do they have like a set fee that they charge you to do the once over? Now,
these manufacturers have a flat bench fee that's consumable with labor and parts, but it starts at, it's gotten a lot more expensive in the past, decade. Sound Devices 6 Series bench fee used to be $400 or $500 US. Now it's $800.
Wow.
But cost of doing business. That's what we need to do for to be able to deliver.
I think you should write a book, Mickey. You should call it "How to Succeed at Business" by Mickey Makachor. Step 1: don't fail.
You don't want business advice from me. I guarantee that.
Step 1: failure is the most expensive thing.
I have excellent business partners and excellent investors that guide us. You don't want business advice from myself.
Book title suggestion: Trying is the first step to failure. Next question.
Next one comes in from Paul Valhus in Austin, Texas. What are the use cases for the various Shure MV series of mics? Do we have a couple of days to get into
Well, there's a lot of microphones in that family. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, there sure are. So I'll show just a few that I can say something about. First, I'll start with the MV6, called the USB gaming microphone. That's just a marketing term. It's a lower priced, decent quality dynamic mic. They're not doing themselves, I don't think, any favors by showing it on a small, short little desktop stand 10 feet away from the person's mouth. So that's not great, but it's a USB mic, good quality, especially if you're going to, we were going back and forth with some mics, this one for the Michael Krasny podcast. And if we send mics to folks and they don't return it, it's better to do that with a less expensive mic. So then there's the MV7X, which is just the plain old good quality XLR, nothing fancy. It's an XLR mic. There's the 7 Plus, which now this is the one that can be either XLR or a USB. So XLR just still works like a regular old XLR mic into an interface. USB-C, then it's using all its own stuff. Now, all of the USB mics, what is nice is they have some fairly impressive for the consumer podcaster interviews, where you can use their software to enable a lot of DSP features on board. Auto leveler, I'm not sure I would trust. I've never used that, but some of the EQ settings and noise gating and things like that, if that's your only option, pretty good. And then we had them on, I think it was just a month or two ago, introducing the newer MV7i. And this one also XLR, USB-C, and you can hang a second XLR mic off of this one. So you can just use this as a USB mic into your computer and have basically two microphones. That's some of them.
Very cool. Let's go to the next question.
Next question comes in from New York City. Jim Brooks wants to know, what are the group's opinion on the use of FPV drones for the Olympics coverage, both outdoor and indoor?
Go ahead, Chris.
I think it's awesome. I think it's really cool. I think the points of view are fine. I did see a video this morning where somebody was whining about the noise of the drones. Whatever. They'll figure out a way to filter that out. I'm sure Sound Devices is making an anti-drone buzz. What does that mean, Mickey? What does that mean? Are you using Italian hand gestures to me? They'll, whatever. It's good. I saw one. They're chasing the luge folks down that thing. I think. I think it would be fun to hang out at a bar with all the FPV pilots. I'm just saying. But I think it's really cool, and quit your whining. Shut up and enjoy the TV show.
Courtney.
Yeah, they had to jump through a lot of hoops to use them. In my research, I found out that the Olympic Broadcasting System, of course, has jurisdiction over them, and they have to get clearance from the various countries or cities that they fly them in, and abide by their rules and regs. And they, of course, the Olympic Committee, the IOC, has to approve the use of them as well. And so they had to make sure that the drones cannot interfere with the performance of whatever sport it is. So that's why you see the drones stay off the course completely until the person doing the ski jump or the bobsled or the luge has already gone by them. And then they go, zzz, and then they go out and take off after them and chase them down so they're always behind the person because they didn't want to risk, anyone getting big air off a ski jump or a snowboard jump and doing that helicopter snowboard thing and running into one of the drones. That would be a bad thing. It would ruin their whole day. So the noise is an issue, and you do hear them even over the broadcast. You hear them. They're very annoying, and I imagine to the sports people who are doing those bobsled, skeleton, and ski jumps are kind of annoyed by someone, a giant mosquito following them down the slopes. So, yeah, when they can come up with quieter ones, but FPV drones are known for, especially the high-speed ones, for their high-speed whine, because they've got to travel at up to 70 miles and 70 I don't know how many kilometers per hour to follow them down the slope. So they're super high-speed drones, and they make a lot of noise.
I heard that thank you, Alexander. I heard that they did tons of studying with it, and that the athletes were not bothered by them in the helmets with the other noise. But what I'm really curious about is this real video? I saw this the other day. Did you see that? So the guy, is this real? Has anybody seen this footage?
Yeah, where the drone crashes behind him. Yeah.
Right behind him. And
that's scary.
That's when they were using big drones that weren't the FPV drones.
Man.
But the FPVs are lightweight. I think they're all under 250 grams.
This is definitely over 250 grams.
That's
and it's coming down with
Is he wearing a helmet? I hope he is.
Yeah, the skiers always wear a helmet. Otherwise they die. But yeah, so Mickey, has there been any talk around the shop about those drones crashing? Did anybody talk about it?
About the drone what?
Is there any conversation in the Olympic Village or at the IBC about the drones being intrusive to the games?
Apart from sound, no. Well, I'm hanging out with sound folks all day long.
Soundies?
Yeah. Apart from sound, I haven't heard any other comms about it. But
what are they saying in the audio department? Are they all sipping their morning coffee, bitching about the?
Do they have an special AI filter that filters out just drone sound?
Clean show, but yeah. Actually, yeah, we hang around in the smoking area in the morning with our coffees
and complaining about the drones
and complaining to each other about it. Yep.
I think it makes for good TV. Whatever.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next question.
Next one comes in from Michael Jones in Los Angeles, California. Hello, any recommendations for a subwoofer to complement my Kali Audio LP65 in my home studio for playback and mixing? I also have a pair of NS10s in that setup.
Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with. Oh, I am familiar with Kali Audio and their monitors, but I've never listened to them myself. But a general rule of thumb is you would be in a good place if you go with subwoofers from the same family or the same manufacturer. They're certainly designed to work well together in terms of their frequency response. So that would be a safe bet for you.
+1 on that. And in fact, Kali does, I listened to their entire family of monitors because we're a dealer. They're very, very good for the money. I haven't actually had a chance to listen to these subs, but they do make two models, the 6.2 and the 12. So I would take a look at those and see what would work best for the room and for the style of music that you're mixing. But they do make subs. You should go and check them out. Next question.
Next one comes in from Brody Hefner in New York City. When using two overhead shotgun microphones for speakers seated closely at a small table, what are the concerns with phasing, etc., due to having the mics too close together? In this case, a vintage MKH 415 Ts on 12-volt phantom power. Well, not phantom power, but it's 12-volt T power, just to correct
Mickey.
you there, Brody. Yeah.
So yeah, I would have. Sorry, I'm just skimming through the question. Yes, I would have a concern regarding phase, but not so much because two mics being close to each other. It's because these are shotgun microphones that have an interference tube design, and how it works is it cancels out audio that comes in from the sides. Say if this is your shotgun microphone pointing down, you have little slits in the sides here, and any sound that comes in through there are canceled out through because the design has it so that the sound is inverted in polarity coming in from the sides. When you are shooting indoors or have reflective surfaces nearby, like a table, the person's voice reflects off of that table and also goes in through the sides. Thus, that person's voice is being captured not only by the direct sound from the bottom, but also through the interference tube. And the result is the sound starts to sound phasey and also thins out a lot. That's why you tend to avoid using shotgun microphones indoors or in reflective places. I would go with a hypercardioid or a supercardioid microphone instead, so that you don't have those interference tubes that will make your capture sound thin. Now, in terms of having two microphones up at the same time in a production, be it if it's say a recorded production that will be going through post, you will or should be going through a dialogue edit process. That's a process where you're cutting between your different microphone sources and have ideally only one microphone in the cut at any given point in time. That's the ideal situation. So you negate any possible issues with having multiple microphones in the same room capturing different people. If this is a live situation, you'd be using, or ideally you would be using, expanders. Not many people use gates anymore. Along with, of course, pushing your faders when someone speaks, fader up. When someone stops speaking, bring the fader down a bit. You ride those faders. That, along with the expansion, will mitigate a lot of the issues with, again, multiple microphones live at once. These are, you mentioned, only two microphones, so you don't need auto mix there. You just ride the faders yourself. You only really need auto mix if you have, like 8 mics.
Corny.
Yeah, what Mickey said, he covered almost all the bases. As far as solutions, those are the causes of the issues that you're going to have. Multiple 415Ts, we use them all the time in sitcoms with multiple mics open all the time and sometimes right next to each other on booms pointing in opposite directions. So we do have, they have been used for eons on sitcoms. In that situation, if you have a reflective table, you might think about covering the table with a tablecloth, a nice absorptive, felt tablecloth to kill the reflection. Or you might also make sure that on the 415s, you rotate the noise canceling bits so they're pointing up and not down at the table. That might eliminate some of the phasing issues that Mickey was talking about, because you're getting that reflection coming in at a 90-degree angle, which is a double reverse with a half twist. On the directionality of that microphone, which makes it sound a little roomy. So you might want to make sure you have, as long as there's some type of overhead treatment to the ceiling, point them up instead of down. So that's my 2 cents. And the 415Ts can still sound really good, although they're about 40 years old.
Next question.
Next one comes in from Tommy Shantz in St. Paul, Minnesota. What is a good software to measure room reflections for treating my 100 by 60 foot cement block box? Free is better, but a fee not the best.
Jeff.
Well, there is always those trade-offs, right? So I'll start with software. Use or figure out at your own risk. AM Acoustics, and I can put a link in the chat, has this really sophisticated room calculator. You enter dimensions, You let it listen to some audio, and it'll give you all kind of stuff that you can use and calculate. And you can play around with that. But also, I would suggest there's a couple of these acoustic treatment panel companies that many of them offer consultations, some free consultations. I'll give you a couple. Prime Acoustic, and I'm showing their website now. And they also have, if you look on their site, this upper right acoustic calculator, which you can try and use in this room designer thing. Then there is GIC Acoustics, and they also will let you talk to them, and they'll help kind of give you some consultation. And then one more is Audi Mute. Same thing, great panel company, and they offer consultation.
Mickey.
So yeah, plus one on if you're going to hire someone to do the acoustic treatment anyway, have them do the measurements. They have the right tools. Well, it should have the right tools, and would get you the most accurate measurements. If you want to DIY things, there's a Room EQ Wizard. There are RT60 tools in there, although they are very simple. You can also get Open Sound Meter, which is an open source. I'm actually not sure if it's open source. I assume it's open source, but it's free measurement tool. You can use that to get, say, get a source of a sound impulse and mic it directly, and also put another microphone that's further away, capturing the room, capture the impulse from those two microphones, and then compare the decay of the reverb between those two microphones, and then you can sort of guesstimate, or have an assumption, get to a rough estimate of what the RT60 is like. RT60 is how long it takes for an impulse to decay by 60 dB, and that's sort of how people measure or gauge the reverberation within a room. If all else fails, you can do the same with a simple DAW and a microphone or a couple microphones, and again guesstimate the RT60 from there.
Next question.
Next question comes in from Paul Vol, who's in Austin, Texas. At the Olympics, how are the sounds from the slopes and ice rinks picked up?
Go ahead, Mickey.
Microphones. No. Yeah, essentially, yeah, microphones everywhere. Thousands of microphones everywhere. Hundreds of kilometers of cables everywhere. It's pretty much it. The right microphone is faded up at the right time, and that's how you get your effects mix.
Go ahead, Chris.
Mickey, I'm curious, what's the most interesting or unusual place you've ever seen a microphone used for sports?
I'd have to think about that, because when from I haven't been to every single venue or seen every single microphone in every single venue, but from what I've seen, it's like it all makes sense. Oh, they need to capture that, put a mic there. Need to capture that, put a mic there. Yeah.
I think the most interesting one I ever saw, and it's really common, is they'll drill a little tiny hole through the rubber padding around a basketball backboard, and right underneath the net, they'll shove a lav in there.
Yeah, a little Sony ECM.
Whatever, yeah, just a disposable, and it gets the net sound. And, when you watch somebody mixing sports, it's quite interesting because they'll have their go-to mics, like baseball. I remember watching a friend of mine mixing a baseball game once, and he was reading the newspaper, but he had a hand on the fader for the bat crack, because he had a shotgun pointing at the home plate, and he would just sit there and instinctively push it up at the right time, looking for that crack of the bat. Sports audio is very interesting.
Courtney.
Yeah, I used to work in a lot of commercials and used to do Nike commercials, and they would always want the sound of that Nike shoe hitting the track in, really close sound. And it's almost impossible to gather because, and they would have whoever the world record holder for sprinting is at the time doing the running. And I couldn't keep up with them. I don't know why with a handheld shotgun mic. Plus, you'd hear my footsteps along with his. So, the only way we came up with doing it is mounting a wireless mic to his ankle and a transmitter up around a belt. Of course, you can't do that in competition to hear the footfalls as it hits the track, cinder track. And that was one solution we had. And I wondered these days, now that wireless mics have become so tiny, the little Hollyland circular mics, you could put one on each skate of any of the ice dancers and get that.
How did that
stereo
work? Miking,
wouldn't that work great?
How did that work? Miking his ankle.
It worked okay. The transmitter was around his waist, and the cable ran down his leg to his ankle. But we got it. There was a problem with wind noise when you're running at average 65 miles an hour, ever fast. I can't remember who was the world record holder in like the 80s, but he was the fastest guy.
And obviously, that was just for Foley. That wasn't camera ready. You couldn't shoot like that, right?
Oh, well, the mic was out of the shot. They were shooting the shoe, super close from a dolly that's like, on a super long lens miles away. I mean, not miles away, but, 50 feet, 60 feet away.
Jeff?
I would say slightly unrelated, but you did make me think, Chris, when you said the most interesting place something is mic'd. I just saw a video where a guy has a little treehouse outside mounted and a camera and mic, and big rainstorm, and a squirrel comes in from the rain, cleans herself off, and then goes to sleep, and you just hear a squirrel snoring. It was pretty relaxing.
Mickey?
Yeah, thinking back, I was surprised the first time I watched curling. I was surprised that they mic up the contestants, but after watching a couple competitions, it makes sense because their conversations and yelling and instructions are so much part of watching curling. So it makes sense there. I was just surprised to see microphones on actual athletes.
Next question.
Next one comes in from Madison, Indiana, with Roscoe Jones asking, is there such a thing as mild distortion? And is there a fix for any audio distortion? Finally, is there mild distortion in this short video? And he has a clip to a funny video.
Soft clipping.
Norm.
That's a thing. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so Roscoe, that the most classic distortion that gets recorded is like guitar distortion, and that's part of the sound. Digital distortion clipping is ugly almost all the time. You never want to hear that, and that's part of the reason why, especially in the last 25 years, a lot of audio recordists or guys capturing audio in the field record so low. It's sometimes the stuff I get out of the field is ridiculously low, and obviously they've been emotionally damaged by getting yelled at for distorting something. This clip, it's a cute clip about the actor George Wendt being known only as Norm from Cheers. What's interesting about that clip, if you watch it, Roscoe, I get the impression that was not pre-produced long before that event. The audio in the Gary Sinise voiceover is so bad that to me it sounds like it was recorded backstage and edited like on a fast turnaround edit because Gary Sinise was going to be at the event and they said, can you get there 10 minutes early? We have a quick VO for you to, a quick clip to make. It's just so bad and it sounds hollow and it sounds like it was recorded against a gray piece of, paper up against a wall somewhere backstage. that's what struck me as the most interesting part of that clip. I didn't necessarily hear the distortion because I was just hearing the hollowness of how bad that recording was.
Courtney.
Yeah, it has the sound that I know all too well, which is the take the actor into his motorhome or into the honey wagon to get away from all the production noise and record this little piece to camera, you know. And
so it sounded like that to you also?
Yeah. Yeah, you hear the room a lot, and no noise, no treatment. Now, as far as audio distortion goes, there is good audio distortion, and I remember when we transitioned from analog to digital, there was a lot of complaints about the digital sound sounding too sterile, and it was because, you know, you had full frequency response up to 20,000 hertz when previously analog recordings rolled off at about 14 kilohertz and started to go into tape saturation distortion at anything above that frequency. So there was a nice gentle distortion that was more pleasing to the ear in the higher overtones that digital didn't capture because the anti-aliasing filters rolled all that stuff off. Yeah, there is desirable audio distortion, and many audio engineers still like those input transformers on those consoles because they gave you that nice smooth audio distortion when the signal level got up a little high and the frequency got up above a certain level. They would smush those frequencies down into something that was more pleasing to the ear than something that was a little harsh to the ear because you hadn't heard it before at those frequencies.
Yeah, you gotta love those Rupert Neve input transformers. Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, I can definitely hear the back of the soundstage sound in there. I'll throw up a little background and do a quick hit there. Apart from that, it sounds like this has been run through a standard broadcast chain, smashing some broadcast limiter somewhere. So that hollowness is really emphasized because you're pushing the noise floor up closer to your peaks. In terms of distortion, I think that could be what you're hearing, the signal smashing a limiter and getting squished at the peaks. And if you zoom out on the waveform, it's just like a flat sausage there. No hills and valleys, just flatness. That could be what you're hearing. And in terms of getting rid of distortion, there are tools. I think my quick go-to for declipping, assuming it's digital clipping as opposed to analog saturation or over modulation that Courtney mentioned, Isotope's declipper module has been pretty good with that. Accentize with their DX Revive has also been helpful with cleaning up distortion, as well as Synaptic also has a declipper plugin. Of course, that's in post-production if you're talking about working in post-production. But my go-to for quite a good long time for that has been just RX, the declipper module built in.
And Chris.
Yeah, Isotope RX. Yeah, I'm glad you guys think it has that sort of quick, dirty, let's just record it in somebody's trailer sound. The other thing that I thought was interesting about this clip, and we should do this more often, just tear apart clips, is if you listen to the music doesn't have a nice sting to it. It was like they said, look, we're going to edit. Now, I don't know that anybody would do that for a big award show because they have to plan that stuff. And if something happened and the video didn't work, they have to have a contingency, for not having something to roll at that step of the script. I've directed award shows, and you need to know that you're not gonna have a big gaping hole in your rundown. But the fact that the music didn't fade well either was kind of evidence of the fact that this was thrown together at the last minute.
Next question.
Next question comes in from Rajan Chandil in Los Angeles, California. Let's break down the Super Bowl with Sony cameras and audio, and he has a link to an article.
I haven't had a chance to look at this too much, but the article here here's some screenshots here, and if anyone wants to talk about it, we can. But let me just scroll down. So yeah, this article's got a whole bunch of shots of the production. You can see the huge cameras that they got here. I don't really have much to say because I don't work in this particular industry. Maybe somebody else on the panel does here, but that's all there is just a few screenshots here. I haven't had a chance to read this article. It's did not get enough time to do that. Go ahead, Courtney.
It does say, well, Sony pays the big bucks to be to the NFL to be the co-sponsor of the Super Bowl, to have their branding shown everywhere. And they did provide 175 plus cameras around the stadium to do all those POVs and long lens stuff and drone cameras and communications and comms. And you'll see a lot of times they're kind of mixed messages because you'll see Motorola and Sony on the comms headphones. So it's kind of confusing. So maybe two people are paying to have their logos displayed on all that equipment. They have to make sure that the logos are prominently placed on all of the equipment that could be shown on camera because they're paying the big bucks to be listed as a co-sponsor. But I'm sure it does contribute to the technology. Sony is, although Sony has dropped back, their technology, they're kind of falling behind, I think, in the world of being the leader for cameras and video equipment and displays, etc. They've taken a back seat lately. They're not near the company that they used to be, in the 80s and 90s.
Go ahead, Chris.
I think the biggest failure at the Super Bowl, and actually any football game, and I need a prop to do this. So let's say, I'll use this napkin here. They always have the shot of the coach on the sideline, and he holds his notes up in front of his face so the lip readers can't read what play he's telling the quarterback to do next, whatever. I think he needs to be holding a menu of a restaurant that delivers. Can you imagine, like, every time they cut to the coach and it says, like, Denny's or whatever, it's like, that's advertising space. Why isn't somebody doing that? I think they're missing out on tens of millions of dollars worth of advertising. The Super Bowl sucks.
It seems so obvious when you say it, but that is actually pretty brilliant. I have to give you points for that.
Totally obvious.
That is awesome.
And it should be an impulse thing that you, like DoorDash, brought to you by DoorDash. And it's like a DoorDash menu. This is so easy.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, let's go to the next question.
Next one comes in from Chicago, Illinois. Ryan Rademan wants to know, Mickey, what gear are you using for today's show? Ooh.
Go ahead, Mickey.
Hey, I am speaking into a Shure SM58, going into a Sound Devices 302 little mixer, going into a, shocking, Focusrite Scarlett Solo. Scarlett's never worked, they're horrible, but seems to be working now. Yeah, that's it for camera. An old iPhone, I don't know what this thing is, some old iPhone. Have a couple little lights around me from, I think, newer. And something, this colored light is an Olanzi. I don't know how you pronounce these names, but yeah, a bunch of cheap lights and old iPhone, SM58 Sound Devices for preamp, and Scarlett for audio interface. I was toying around with the idea of I always carry around a little portable recorder when I travel, so I can capture sounds from places I've been.
That's the Tascam Portacapture, right? Those are nice.
Yeah, Portacapture X6, a nice little unit.
32-bit float.
Does it do 32-bit float? I don't know.
Pretty sure
I don't use it in 32-bit float. I just do standard 24-bit 48K. It also acts as an audio interface. I was toying around with the idea of maybe using it, but I ran out of run. We had meetings right before this the show.
Next question. Sorry, I had to get to my mouse. There we go. Yes. Yeah, it was a mouse problem, not a mute problem. Next one comes in from Guy Cochran in Seattle, Washington. Guy would say, what would be your audio kit if you're tasked with NAB live floor coverage and no limited on budget?
Start us off, Courtney.
Okay, you did say no limit on the budget there, Guy. So what I would have is I'd get a flatbed golf cart and put a Neve console on it with a couple of Jackery portable power supplies. Then I'd have two Fisher 16-foot preambulator booms with two boom operators and two 416 or 816 microphones on the end of those 16-foot booms that could handle going back and forth between any of the people that you would talk to, get it nice and close to, and get that nice, clean overhead boom sound. And, then I would mix onto maybe Pro Tools setup that would be on a second golf cart, would have your Pro Tools operator that was recording everything on multiple channels, including ambisonic mics for getting the overhead and mixing that in. And then, of course, you need a nice big live view transmitter to transmit the stuff back to the live view. So that's my ultimate setup.
Chris.
Okay, two obvious comments. Number one, Courtney, he said live, so it doesn't need to record it. Second, what kind of golf carts? You weren't specific there. No,
Cushman Electrics.
Yeah. Nice choice. So, Guy, everybody always whines about the Mix Pre and how expensive it is. But in honesty, I can't imagine, Mickey, correct me if I'm wrong, I can't imagine that the noise assist in the Sound Devices line of gear wouldn't be of some benefit. But in terms of like microphones, I think to do live, I would be more interested in spending the time or money to hire a good host or train a marginal host. And I would use something as simple as an SM58, and I would shove it in front of their mouth hole. And I would train somebody to know how to do it. And when somebody tries to take that mic from you, you hold on to it like it's your pacemaker. And you're like, no, you're not holding this microphone. But I think most of the problem is in the talent and, of course, all the physics of it. But I can't imagine, Mickey, correct me if I'm wrong, that the noise assist wouldn't be of some assistance in a loud hall.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm not entirely sure what context Guy is talking about. If this is the field, the actual equipment on the field, or if this also the question encompasses the equipment that will be at the studio side before broadcast. Assuming there is a studio and the field isn't broadcasting straight to the air. It depends on who the A1 is, and if the A1 wants to do all the processing on their end, then don't do anything in the field. Leave it, raw. Leave it to the studio to do any sort of noise suppression if they deem necessary. If not, then if everything's being done in the field, then a little bit of noise assist. I prefer in the field, a Cedar DNS2, or on the Sound Devices 8 series, the Cedar SDNX plugin for the 8 series. I prefer the sound of that much more than Sound Devices. Noise assist. But at the end of the day, whoever's doing the actual mix that goes on the air is the decision maker there. For equipment on in the field, I would stick to, assuming this is a similar situation as the other convention coverage that Office Hours has done. Stick to the standard Sennheiser MD46, Lectrosonics RF, or this Sound Devices also has their own RF system, but I'd have to explore what capsule to use on their stick mics. I like the MD46. It sounds great isolation, long handle on the mic, so it's great for interviews. Then on the remote for the field mixer, I'd go with a Sound Devices 888. in most situations, don't really need a Scorpio for that. So I'd go with a smaller 888, lighter bag, less weight on your harness when you're walking around. Carry a shotgun for backup. I would go with the Sanken CS3E because of it's very capable and tight pickup pattern. It's not very forgiving. If you're off mic, it sounds horrific, but if you're if you're on the ball with your swinging of your boom, it's great. I'll do RF hops to the camera. That would be I still use Lectrosonics for broadcast quality. RF hops going to the camera. If you find yourself in a pinch, I'll always carry a duplex cable to do and a snake to the camera. But in most situations, you'd be fine with RF hops if you don't go straight too far away from the camera operator. And then, in terms of IFBs, Comtex at VHF frequencies work amazingly well in congested RF environments. You don't need extremely high fidelity for RFB use, so I would go with Comtex there. If this is a nimble and very quick run and gun situation wherein it's going up to a control room somewhere, you can, in all honesty, you can get away with your slot and receivers right on your ENG camera. There's of course a lot of things someone who's dedicated to audio can solve without putting too much stress on the camera operator.
+1 to the MD46. Go ahead, Jeff.
Real quick, I'll say if budget's no issue, also 1 or 2 advanced crew members to hopefully go to the next booth you want to visit, get everything set up. Maybe you're going to mic them, have it ready to go, so you're not dealing with that when the host gets there. I couldn't agree more with Chris, and a lot of it is just mic technique from the host, and arguably we don't really have time for follow-up, but I think a wireless good headset is an option for the guests. I mean, first of all, sometimes you want to do interactive where the audience is asking questions real time to that guest, and there's been issues with reading it, so now you have comms that the guest could hear that question, and good wireless headset mic for the field might be an option. Again, the advanced crew can get that ready to go.
All right, that wraps our Audio Day show. Thanks to all the panelists for being here and bringing your A game to answer all these questions. We appreciate it. And, of course, to you, the producers, the viewers, you guys that put all these questions in, that really we wouldn't have a show without you, so thank you. And, of course, the incredible back-end crew that wakes up every single day to put this show on. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you very much. And I don't think we have a Talalic traversal right now, so unless one gets posted in the next 5 seconds, I don't think I have anything to announce other than thanks for being here, and let's jump into After Hours. See ya. There it is. 24,000 miles, 38,000 kilometers, 187 million bananas for scale. There we go.
It's just a jump to the right. All right.
We got credits. I just see black.
It's black. It's dark outside.
We've gone dark.
We're overtime, the back end crew left 3 minutes ago. Oh wait, there they are.
It was on banana timing, so.
All right. Well, I'm off to work.
Have a
Good
good
one,
one,
all.
everyone.
Thanks for popping in, Mickey. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Olympic feat. Bye-bye.
Yep. Oh, that's on another monitor. Yeah, I'd have to turn my head to see that.